Hi, I'm Janine, and this is Janine Sews. In this video, I'm going to show you 4 things that I've made in the past few weeks. In a previous video, I showed you 2 patterns I was planning to make. They were both style arc patterns. I have made up both of those, and I've also made a couple of other pieces that are great for cold weather. And that's very timely because it's freezing here. I think it's minus 19 Celsius today. So we've had a real cold snap, and I'm glad that I took a little bit of time to sew a couple of things at least for colder weather. This is the Style Arc Rhea knit top, and this is a Batwing top. I had, as I told you before, I tried on and purchased a Batwing top ready to wear in September, and I liked the style enough that I decided to make one. And I had this fabric in my stash. This is a Riley Blake fabric. Etta V is the designer, and the name of the fabric print is Marble. And I'm going to put a link down below to all the fabrics I mentioned, if I can find them, and the patterns, so you can go out and look if you like any of these items. So this is the top. I made it a little bit longer. I think I added 4 inches to it. And this top, even though it's a Batwing, it's got a couple of little darts here just under the arm. The other thing that I changed on the pattern was the front and the back were supposed to both be cut and then seamed down the center. And I didn't want to add a seam to this because I like the fabric. So I just slid over the pattern piece to eliminate the seam allowance and cut it on the fold, and that worked just fine. This is a very easy pattern because really you've got 3 pieces, the front and the back and the neckband. And style art patterns are known for being rather sparse in instructions, but this is simple enough that I think anyone could sew it, even if you don't have a lot of experience. The neckband went in well. It's just, the instructions are not what we're used to if you've normally sewn big 4 patterns. So I had planned to make this, and then I also told you I was going to make a shacket, and I did. The second piece that I showed you, the pattern I was planning to make, is the Style Arc Logan Jacket, and I did make it up. I bought some fabric at Lycra Textiles here in Calgary. This fabric is also from Lycra. Lycra is on the way home from work for me. It's actually at a light that I wind up stopping at, so it's really easy to run in there. I picked up this wide wale cotton corduroy. And this is an 8 wale corduroy. It's 98% cotton, 2% spandex, and the color is vanilla. I cut out the pattern pieces, which I had printed just the one size, and then I cut out the fabric and I went to work. And as I mentioned, Style Arc's instructions are really sparse, but this is in essence a pretty simple make. I picked this because I liked the seam for the yoke. There, I don't know if you can see that. I've got a picture I'm going to pop up here that'll show you the yoke better. I like the shape of the yoke. It was something a little bit different. Didn't look too cowboy. And I just generally liked the style. So I went about sewing it. They have some good instructions and suggestions for after you finish a seam, press them and then do a row of double top stitching so that you finish off the seam at the same time on the inside and the outside. So I added the 2 front pockets, and on this one I included a couple of my little labels. One says bespoke The other one says Sew Over Ageism, and that's one of my Sew Over 50 tags that I got in Edinburgh. I decided to leave off the inseam side pockets just because I won't use them. So I got as far as adding the collar, and then I ran into a problem. When I sewed up the collar stand and the collar, and then I went to attach them to the neck opening, the collar stand was 7 centimeters too small. 7 centimeters is, what is it? It's almost 3 inches. That's a lot. So I swore quite a bit. I went onto Instagram and I whined, and then I recut the collar. I added 7 centimeters to it. I recut the collar. I stitched it on because I was trying to get this done relatively quickly. And then later that evening, I sent an email to Stylark and I said, your pattern has a mistake. The collar is 7 centimeters too small, and I would appreciate it if you would acknowledge this. Well, they wrote back overnight and they said, well, thank you for contacting us. However, did you happen to notice that the seam allowance for the collar stand is 6 millimeters? If you don't use a 6 millimeter seam allowance, you will have a 7 centimeter difference in the length of the collar versus the neck opening, which is exactly what I had. They also kindly included a little video of how to attach the collar, and they've given me permission to insert it in this video, so it's up here. So this was really my mistake. Again, not reading things closely enough, but I will say that the seam allowance is just demonstrated with the dotted line on the collar stand. But the message is, to me, and to maybe other people, if you look at something like that, measure it, just to be sure. Maybe it's the same seam allowance as everything else, but just take 2 seconds to measure it. So I'm really grateful that Stylark did respond and help me out with that, and they didn't make fun of me. And now I've got the jacket finished, and I'm really happy with it. The only thing that I probably will change, on the sleeves, they suggest you just fold up the ends, roll up the cuffs, and I don't really like that. So I've rolled them up and I've just pressed them, but I think I'm going to wind up just cutting them off and hemming them. That's the only thing I don't like. I thought about putting a cuff on them, but that's a lot of work. Maybe I will in the future. But this is the jacket, and I'll put it on and I'll model it for you. I think I'm going to get a fair bit of wear out of this in the winter, even if it's just for days when I'm working from home or I'm working around the house. It's a nice thing to throw on. I like that, unlike a sweater, it's not going to get snagged if I pick up one of the cats or if I'm doing things around the house. So those are my 2 Stylark makes. For the past couple of years, I've participated in FabricMart Fabrics Fabricista blog, and FabricMart gifts me fabric and I make up things and they post them on the blog. Because I'm in Canada now, and with the exchange rate and the cost of shipping, this is actually the last month I've done a Fabricista blog. It's just become really expensive. Even though FabricMart has amazing prices, the shipping and the customs can be 3 or 4 times the cost of fabric, unfortunately. But I did make up one last outfit, and again, it's following on the theme of cold weather sewing. So I picked up my fabric in November, and it was posted on the Fabricista blog Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So I'm going to show you what I made. Now, when I looked at fabric, it was mid-October, and FabricMart had a bunch of holiday prints. And I know that things go really quickly there, so I thought I'm just gonna grab some fabric for the holidays while they have it. So I got this piece and I got some others that was fabric that I purchased myself that I'll use later. But I'm gonna show you this piece that I used to make another version of the Jalie Emily top. Here it is. So this is a turtleneck top. I've made this a couple of times before. I'm going to put a link in to the previous makes. So here it is. And this is a brushed sweater knit, so it's super soft. Inside and out, it's very soft. Fairly lightweight, but it's completely opaque. And this has little holiday trees on it. And this pattern, the Jalie Emily, is free. It's a free downloadable pattern. It has drop shoulders and a tubular neck, but I take the neckband and I cut it, instead of it being a tube, I cut it like a D so that the neck is a little bit looser at the top and it can kind of, not really cowl, but be a little bit looser and kind of gather a bit. This particular pattern is super fast and super easy to make up. And if you need a quick gift for a friend or a family member or for yourself, good pattern for that, because it's really the front and the back, the sleeves and the collar. That's it. So you can sew it up really quickly, and it's oversized, so you don't have to mess around too much with sizing. It's very nice fabric, soft, as I said, and it's cozy but not too warm. So I made up the top, and actually, I stuck a little label on it. I love these Kylie and the Machine labels and all the other labels that are out there. This one says make, make, make. Oh, and I also think that this is a pattern that I can wear. This print, I can wear this in January, in February. It doesn't scream Christmas. And then second piece I made is a pair of pants. And yes, still working top down, center out. I picked up the fabric first, and the fabric is a fine wale corduroy from FabricMart. And this is a synthetic stretch corduroy. It's a 14 wale, whereas the jacket is 8 wale. And it's navy, because navy is my neutral for the day. The pattern that I used is kind of perfect for top down, center out, and I'd forgotten that I had it. It's Vogue 9181, and this is a boot cut pant, no pockets, no yoke, and it has a shaped waistband. Mock fly. I made a real toile. I used muslin fabric and everything. And following along with the suggestion from Jen Stern on her YouTube channel on Top Down Center Out, I made an interfaced waistband and I added Velcro to it to help with fitting the half toile for Top Down Center Out. Surprisingly, I didn't have to make a lot of adjustments to this. The waistband is higher than I wanted it to be. I was trying to get the waistband to kind of sit closer to my belly button, but my waist is kind of really moved north. So I'm gonna have to keep working on finding a way to fit the waistband for the toile so that it stays low enough. It could be I need to make the waistband a little bit bigger, but that's what I'm still working on. So the waistband is a little higher than I would have had ideally. The pattern instructions are good. You can't see this very well, I know. The mock fly went in really well. The waistband is fine. That's all there is to it. There are 2 darts in the back. And the fabric is really nice for these pants because although it's cord, it's not super heavy, so nice for wearing inside or outside. And it's quite drapey. Two mistakes with this, or two issues, two learning opportunities. The first was I didn't make a sample buttonhole on scrap first, so the buttonhole isn't very good. And I did unpick it, and it's still not very good. But I should have done a sample buttonhole so that I could have messed around with presser foot pressure and everything. And the second mistake is a little more embarrassing. I don't know if you can see this. You can see this. I think you can see this. This is corduroy. It has a nap. I sewed with the nap. I cut it with the nap going up for the front and down for the back. So the color does appear different. See that? What can I say? It was a learning experience. And I actually made the Logan Jacket after I made these, and I was very cognizant of the nap of the corduroy. I've worn these pants about 3 times and they are very comfortable. They're definitely wearable, and with the stretch, they're absolutely as comfortable or more comfortable than a pair of jeans. So these are my Fabricista makes. My little holiday outfit. I did buy 3 other pieces of holiday fabric. I'm not sure if I'm going to use them this year, if I'm going to use them for gifts, or if I'm going to save them for next year, but we'll see. I've got a lot of stuff planned for the next few weeks, and I just have to kind of get organized and hop to it. So those are my 4 initial makes for cooler weather. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and you have not subscribed and you'd like to subscribe, you know what to do. I hope you're well. I'll see you soon.